I want to talk about solitude, loneliness. I mean, if you want to count it as loneliness, just the idea of it all, how I am in a current stage of solitude, and how I've been in stages previously, and how I've managed to find peace and be comfortable with that reality instead of trying to escape. Because throughout the previous times that I've felt alone, I felt separated from everybody else. I think there were times where those were the times where I made it a lot worse than it actually is. I didn't see anything good out of being by myself, which is funny because until I really just started talking to people more, and when I dated somebody, ever since then, it's just been a hard thing for me to cope with. And I feel like I've tried to escape or put something over the fire without actually making an effort to put it out. And I think that's the issue that I had. I was trying to escape solitude by talking to people, by forcing, not really forcing, but like, I'd say, like with dating, for example, I would constantly be on dating apps, constantly make profiles, constantly download apps and re download them, do all this stuff just to try to cope, and not really cope, but just escape from solitude and being by myself. Because, I mean, in high school, I didn't really care about any of that stuff. Um, I had a few friends, and I could care less if people liked talking to me, or they, if they liked me, or if they didn't. I just didn't care because I think in some ways I may have not cared too much about myself at times. And now that I'm not in high school anymore and I've gotten older and my brain has developed more, at least I hope it has, and I've had new experiences every single year, I don't I don't feel that way the same way I did in high school. Not as in I care now about what people think about me, but I'm more aware of how lonely I can be at times, and how much I have little going on in my life, and how little I talk to people unless I'm at work, and how little I even go outside and interact with the outside world. And again, that's because of me. Going back to, being by myself and how I made it seem like such a bad thing. My my outlook on that has changed a lot. I understood that regardless of what's going on in life, whatever is going on in my life right now is exactly where I need to be. And I feel like if I try to rush, I try to do too much, try to speed up the process, whatever, I don't go at my own pace, things don't really work out for me. It makes me feel worse. It makes me feel depressed. And I feel like the more and more I try to escape loneliness and solitude, the worse I'll feel once I get back into reality and realize that this is where I'm at in life. That's going to make me not feel good. And I think a lot of people might be feeling the same way. However, like I said about trying to put out the fire, trying to put something over the fire without actually putting it out, I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to put it out. I don't have to put something over it. I don't have to protect myself from being burned or whatever. I need to use loneliness. I need to enjoy the stage that I have right now, that I'm in life right now. And I need to use it as fuel for me to actually pursue the things that I want to do with my own self, because that's the other thing. Every time when I branched out, when I started getting comfortable with friends or with girls, when I would be talking to them, every single time I felt that before I started talking to this chick, I was enjoying being by myself. Sure, I still thought about it. Sometimes there were still times where I sat down and laid in my bed and listened to music, thinking for hours, thinking this is really life right now. However, that's not a bad thing, because if I'm being honest with you, this isn't anything. This is something that I want, especially after a long week of work, after a long day at work, especially after going through months and months of depression and being tired of life and feeling negative all the time. It actually feels good to just simply relax and listen to music and just vibe and chill by myself. However, with me, it's I can never be satisfied. I always needed something. I always needed something to fill the void, something external, except for me. I needed to feel it myself. And again, going back to the fire, filling the void, using the fire as fuel, I can now focus on what I want to do. What I'm doing right now is learning new languages. I want to move out the country by next year. I want to take martial arts classes. I want to, obviously I want to work and make more money, and I want to get promoted on my job, and I just want to feel better. I actually want to feel good about the life that I'm living right now, and I am right now. I can't want a better life for myself without feeling grateful for what I have right now, because otherwise I'm never going to be satisfied. I'm never going to be grateful. Even if I get what I want in the future, when I get to that point, it's still always going to be something that I'm insecure about, something that I want, something that I wish that I had. And I don't want to have that type of mentality. So I don't know how YouTube does this, but there's going to be some subjects that I'll talk about relating to the title of the video. First one I want to talk about, I kind of already did that with talking about my current stage of solitude. And it's not really, I'm not too sure, because I think the word solitude, I think that word, or solitude or isolation, I think that word gets thrown around a lot. And I don't really think that I'm truly in a state of solitude. However that might be because of how the internet perceives it. When I was on social media, I'm on TikTok regularly, but when I was on Instagram, I would see these posts about isolation and cutting off people and just being at peace with myself. And I understand that. I understand finding peace with myself. However, I don't think that I should cut everybody off and be totally alone, because at the end of the day, you can enjoy solitude. You are obligated to having your own space, deciding on who you want to talk to, who you want to hang out with, who you want to give your love to, all that stuff, who you want to make laugh, all that other stuff. However, you don't need to cut everybody off. You don't have to do that. Unless you were hanging out with toxic ass people, hanging out with bums, I get that. And if that's the case, then it might be harder for you to do that because, you know, whoever you hang out with is who you are. You are who you hang out with. So if cutting off toxic friends means you have to quit smoking, you have to quit drinking, you have to quit partying, you have to quit being, immature, whatever it is, that's going to be a hard thing for you to do. And I can understand that as to why you want to be by yourself. That's understandable. But if I were to cut off my family, who's always been there for me, always supported me, were hard on me when they needed to, when I needed them to, same thing with friends, the good friends I have right now, it wouldn't be fair to them. And if I'm being honest with you, even when you do cut off toxic ass friends, or maybe some you don't talk to certain family members that can be toxic, that were toxic, you can still replace them with good ones. Because as I said earlier, you are who you hang out with. So outside of a physical change, as in change in environment, change in people you're around, it needs to be a mental one as well. Because how you think is going to invite other people who think the same way you do, who have the same goals as you do, who want to be successful, who want to be better in life, or people who are just happier than the ones that you were hanging out with before. It's going to take you, in order to really make that change, for you to get better in life. And with isolation, the isolation part is just you. It's just you. You go to the gym. You eat better. You stop, any addictions, smoking, drinking, partying, porn, whatever it is. You do that when you are alone. But when you're at work, or when you're at the gym, or let's say you're still in school, it doesn't hurt to branch out from who you were, from the group that you originally hung out with, not just with your certain friends, but just everybody within that group, and try talking to new people. See what else is out there. See what more is there to what you saw, what you just saw, what you only saw before with your previous friends. Shit, if you're on social media often, maybe make a change in your For You page. Maybe unfollow some of the hashtags and whatnot, Maybe delete some apps. Again, there's a lot more that goes into just being in a stage of isolation, because what you don't want to do is just be by yourself and be miserable, because that's the other side. A lot of y'all are, and I've been this way too, I just won't talk to people, and then nothing changes. I'm still bummy, still miserable with myself, still depressed, like nothing's really changing for me. I am literally just by myself. That's it. There's no gain, there's no pain. It's just no gain, just pain. And I think that I had a hard time understanding that, especially when, let's just say last year, 2024, January, quit my job working at Starbucks. I was working at a Starbucks at the airport for 6 months. P.S. Don't do that. Don't work at the airport unless you really want to. I had to wake up at 2 a.m. every morning. Not every morning. I had 2 days off like everybody else did. But I still stayed there a lot longer than I should have. And it was not a good job. Anyways, I quit after I got paid, got me a PS5, and from January to June of 2024, I was unemployed. And although I was by myself, although I didn't talk to any of my homegirls that I was friends with, real best friends with, when I was working at Starbucks, I was not doing shit. Just being on the game, eating junk food every day, wasting away money, wasting away time. No real urgency to find another job. I mean, even if I did quit, even if it was a terrible job and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take a month off, I shouldn't have thought that. First off, I shouldn't have quit a job without securing one in the first place. That was my first issue. That's why I was unemployed for that long. And sure, it's just 5 months, and sure, people have been unemployed for longer. But again, I could have been unemployed longer if I had not given a fuck about where I was at in life, if I had not cared. You see, going back to isolation and separating yourself, that job was not a good job. Sure, again, I had a few homegirls. He was cool. That was it. Manager was cool, the GM was cool, and then she left, and then everything just got worse. I've been depressed at that job. There were times where I talked to girls I've liked there, and it went nowhere, and I felt terrible again. There was a time where I even got suspended from the job because they thought that I was taking money home, even though the whole time it was somebody else that I think I know who it was, but they don't. They don't care. I don't care about it anymore. But again, it wasn't anything good. I missed out on money because of that shit. Waking up at 2 a.m. every morning. Like, it was busy constantly. Unless it was like the last hour or two of my shift, which then it got busy again by the time I left. Cool, whatever, again. It was not a good place to work. So what did I do? I separated myself. But what did I also do? I separated myself and had no plan. I guess I took a vacation. I guess I got too comfortable with being without having any responsibilities at all. So I was just chilling. And even though that's what I wanted, sometimes, not all the time, what you want, you're always going to get the consequences that come with that. I've realized now that being comfortable doesn't always mean that I'm secured in life. That does not mean that I'm happy. That does not mean that life is good. No adversity, no need for perseverance, no fortitude whatsoever, just straight chilling. Nothing to worry about at all. I wasn't even in school. I was literally not doing a damn thing for 5 months straight. The only thing I did was go on a family vacation. That was it. That was all. And it only took me that month of May, which is like the last week of May, for me to realize that, A, this shit's not working for you. You need to get your life together. You need to have some motion. You gotta have something going for yourself. You're 22 years old. Sorry, I was 21, about to be 22, and now I'm 23 this year. You're 21 years old, you know, you're still young, you still got time. Tomorrow's not promised, but from what I know right now, if the Lord has had me live this long, obviously He wants me to do something. Obviously He has something in store for me, you know? And even though I'm not religious at all, I still believe, obviously, and because I believe, that is why I'm still going right now, and that's why I decided to make a change. Because what makes you feel at peace with isolation is having a goal in mind, having something that you really desire. Your want has to be, you have to want that more than what's comfortable. Sure, not having a schedule, not having to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning, not having to wake up at any time, not having to get dressed for anything, can eat junk food, not having to worry about paying any bills except for my phone bill. Sure, that's cool, but again, that can't be it. That can't be it. That's being comfortable. That's not having anything going for yourself. And it took me to go on that trip where my family and I went to New Mexico, we went to Arizona. When we went to New Mexico, when we arrived in New Mexico, it didn't even take me more than 3 hours of us being there for me to realize that this is where I want to live. I want to live here. I want to live here in New Mexico. Am I living there right now? No, I'm not. Because why? I don't want to live in the States anymore. Something has changed. Again, something has happened. I have a new goal now, a new ambition, something that's greater than what I was thinking last year. And although last year I was thinking about moving out the country as well and learning Spanish and all that stuff, but again, not as much as I do right now. And if it wasn't for that vacation, I don't think I would be right here. Honestly, I think it would have took me even longer for me to figure out what I want to do with myself. And so then when I was in New Mexico, I was like, I gotta, and another thing that helped as well is we were in California. My mom and I, we were at Walmart and we were just about to get ready to leave. She was about to get ready to pay for groceries, but I guess there's some rule in California. I don't know too much. I might be wrong. I'm just paraphrasing from what I remember, but her card just was not working. She wasn't able to pay for the 100 something dollars worth of groceries that we had, and we only were going to use that stuff for the week that we were there, the few days that we were in California. Just wasn't able to afford that. And so then what I did was that I was willing to pay for it with the remaining money I have, and I was just saying, like, and she was my mom was trying to say that, no, you don't got to do that and all that stuff. But I was like I was telling her about how much money I had left, but I'm like, the money I have right now is because of me. Who cares if I don't have much money to spare later? It's my fault that I'm unemployed. I'm not making any effort to get a job, not even look for a job. So who cares? I needed a job. I told her that I need to work. I need to find a job anyway. I'm gonna find a job anyway. Long story shorter, she ended up paying for her stuff right when I was transferring the money from my savings to my checkings to be able to pay. She ended up paying for it. Thank you, Mom. Appreciate it. You're a real one. Still are. I was a little upset, but at the end of the day, it was at that time when, out of desperation, where that was when I decided that, hey, now Now you want to make a difference. Now you want to make sacrifices. Now you want to make those big choices. So then I was like, I for like throughout the rest of the time that we were there in California, I was looking for a job, looking at Amazon, looking at Walmart, looking at some other spots. And I found Whole Foods. Within the week that we got back from Whole Foods, that we got back from California, sorry, I got an interview at Whole Foods. Surprise, surprise. Throughout like the 2-3 times that I've tried applying for a job between January and May last year, I had not even gotten to the interview process at all. Maybe I had maybe one. And then I think that was over the phone. And guess what? I didn't get hired. And then I went to the interview and I got hired later, like 2 days later. However, get this. Before that, within that week, I went to have my driver's test because I needed to have a car. And I remember I got my permit back in December of 2023. And then again, never even thought about that again. Didn't even have my own car. When I tell you that I had nothing going for myself, I mean that literally. Sure, other people may have had it worse, but again, it was my choice for my life to be that way. And I simply chose to not live this way anymore. Anyways, 4th of June 2024, passed my driver's test, barely. Missed a lot of stop signs, did not make full stops. Still passed it though. June 6th was my 22nd birthday. June 11th, or it was June 7th when I had the interview at Whole Foods. June 11th, I got hired. Within a week, that all happened. From the 4th to the 7th, that's how quickly it took for there to be a dramatic change in my life. In 1 week, I had my license and I had a job. That's now, because of how easily it took, it may have not have gotten to that point had let's say I applied to Whole Foods before I quit Starbucks. Let's say I did something like that. Or let's say I applied at Whole Foods, put in my application at Whole Foods, and maybe at least tried my driver's test then. I could have done that a lot earlier, except for my birthday, obviously. I can't choose to when my birthday is. Obviously, nobody can. However, you get my drift. It didn't take that long. Just a little bit of effort I put out in the world, and I got more than what I could have ever expected. Put out that extra application, put in the date for me to have my driver's test, Now, as of August 25th, 2025, I have my own car, I have my own place, and I'm still working at Whole Foods. Of course, I'm not supervisor like I want to be, but I know that I will be one day. It will arrive at some point. And now I want to move out the country, and I want to learn languages, I want to learn martial arts, and I want to do all of this stuff, and more. And then when I am in another country, and when I have martial arts experience, and I'm speaking languages, and I'm living a better life somewhere else, I know that there's going to be something else that I want. Now, back to having something to motivate you, and with isolation, I had the same feeling again where I got comfortable. I didn't want to do anything else. And that happened right when I moved out into my own apartment. It was like late June. I took 5 days off, a lot longer than I needed. It only took my family to help me move out. It only took like maybe an hour, perhaps, of us getting stuff inside of my car and my dad's truck, and us driving here, and my cousins, my brothers, helping bring in all my stuff. Maybe an hour and a half at best. But then from the the day I moved in to the 4th of July when I went back to work, and even maybe like a week after I had gone after a week of being back working regularly, I still had nothing. I didn't want to do anything else. I had no goals. I moved out. Pat myself on the back. Family was proud of me. Now I'm just chilling, waiting to go back to work. Now I'm just working. The only thing now is that I'm working and I get to go home to my own place, to my own spot. I mean, again, I have to be grateful, obviously, and I am, very much so. However, again, I was comfortable. And to know that right now was where I wanted to be last year, and now that I'm here, I don't want to do anything else more. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to bring anything else into this world that I have to offer. I don't want to put in any effort. I feel like I'd be letting myself down, letting who I was last year down. Because, I mean, I'm just choosing to relax. I mean, sure. And now, mind you, that 4-day stretch where I wasn't working, I had not taken a day off of work. I didn't really take time off for myself. And it was nice that I got to have that little break. It was nice having those days off. I needed that. Especially considering all the days where I went to work and it'd be week after week, damn near a whole month of me feeling like dog shit mentally, not wanting to be there. It was nice that I took those few days off. However, I needed to find a new purpose. I needed to find something else that could motivate me. And that's where I remembered that I wanted to move out the country. I mean, sure, I could stay here in the States for as long as I want, but again, remember, just because this is what you want right now, that doesn't mean it's not what you wanted previously. Sure, I want to be comfortable staying in my house, just working at Whole Foods, not doing anything else, but remember, I wanted to move out the country the year before. And just because I'm a better person, better version of who I was previously, that doesn't mean that I should leave all the dreams that made me who I am today behind just because I got one thing accomplished, or a couple things. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always more. There has to be more for myself. For me to be happy, there has to be more. There has to. And I have that choice, obviously. But, like I need something else. And now, as of today, I've been studying Russian and I've been studying Spanish. And I'm thinking either moving to South America or somewhere in Europe. I obviously have when I mean somewhere in Europe, I mean Kazakhstan. I want more. There's something else that is now fueling the engine. And that's going back to me being comfortable back in June. That's how it is. You were to be comfortable, You're going to upgrade, and then you're going to enjoy this new stage of solitude and isolation. And then something else will soon come up where it's something you want to do. And then when you get that something, whatever it is that you want, you're going to enjoy that new phase of isolation. You're going to get comfortable, and the cycle is going to repeat itself again and again and again. Isolation does not have to be boring. I could sit in this apartment and just wait for the next day. But no, I fill that time in with what? Talking to some homeboys here and there, watching TikToks. Some TikToks on there, they're relatable to me, they're funny, and a lot of them have a lot to do with the languages that I'm learning right now, and a lot of them have to do with the martial arts that I want to do. I'm watching the MMA, and I'm learning languages right now. I'm genuinely feeling like a better person. I've I've been better, kinda. Well, I've been better at saving money. Again, new things that I'm keeping myself occupied with, instead of just sitting around like a blob, like this carpet that's behind me, you know? And that's finding peace, solitude, finding things to do, finding things that make you want to get up out of bed, that give you a reason to get up out of bed, give you a reason to try for one more day, give you a reason to smile, to feel grateful. That's how you find peace. Now, I also want to talk about how distractions shouldn't necessarily be your main source. You shouldn't have to rely on distractions in order to make you feel good about not being lonely, about being lonely. And I learned that as well. And again, like what I was saying earlier, the more I try to distract myself, the more I try to fill the void, the worse it's going to feel when I come back to reality. And that can mean in a good way with me going on dating apps and trying to fill the void of how single I am, and forcing conversations with people that I don't really want to talk to, and trying to change myself in some ways. And there's good ways with me doing things that I want to do now. But however, I can't always be at work. Can't always talk to my friends. I don't want to be on TikTok all the time, and I don't want to spend all day learning languages. Sure, I want to spend a couple hours, but I don't want to spend my entire day doing that. And because of that, because I'm a human and I can do things that distract me forever, when I'm by myself, when I'm not doing anything, I'm just sitting down, laying down in my bed, listening to ambient music, to calm, relaxing music. I'm just sitting there with my thoughts in that state where I found peace. Or in that stage where you're not doing anything at all. You're just chilling, you're thinking, and the negative thoughts start to pour in. And all the thoughts that made you feel bad in the past are starting to creep up on you. And maybe those thoughts of you relapsing and going back to your addictions, taking a couple steps back, going down on the chart, those thoughts start to settle in. And you have to fight those thoughts. And when you do, that's where you are at peace. Peace is nothing. The art of doing nothing the art of not feeling anything negative. And even when you're not, when you're overjoyous, when you're too excited about certain things, peace is when you're still, when you aren't stressed about anything, when you aren't being distracted by anything or anyone. That's where peace is. Because we are going to be by ourselves at some point, at any given time. We have to master the art of being by ourselves. We have to. We have to enjoy solitude. We have to be grateful for this moment. And another way that made me think about, that made me feel better about solitude, and I still tell myself to this day, is there's going to be as much as I may not like being by myself, as much as I wish that I was in a relationship and all that other stuff, there's going to be a time where, let's say 10 years from now, I'm 33 years old. Let's say I'm married. I'm definitely not going to have kids, so I don't have to worry about that, but not until I'm 50. But I'm married. Let's just say that. With the love of my life, and I'm maybe I'm in a different country, maybe I'm still here, I don't know what could happen. There went all of my, and let's actually say I'm a 50 years old with the love of my life, kids are running around, you know what I'm saying, we're having a blast, right? There went all of my alone time. It's gone. Even let's say if I have a girlfriend, again, I'm not truly alone at that point. I'm not. Even right now, I'm not that alone. I have people to talk to if I want to. I have family to talk to. I have friends to talk to. I have people at work that I may want to talk to. Again, so I'm not truly by myself. However, I'm by myself in the sense that I have so much time to put in so much energy into this world to hopefully get so much return, not because I'm obligated, but because of all the hard work that I've put in. Mainly because of, I guess, all the work that I've put in. And I was thinking that just because not everything you give is what you're going to get, but for the most part, as far as like materialistic things, that is how it works. So if I'm at that age where I have everything that I want romantically, let's say financially, if there's anything else that I want, that I may want right now, I can't do that because I have actual responsibilities now. At that point, I'd have kids. At that point, I'd have a spouse. At that point, I'd have known her family as well. At that point, maybe let's say we have pets. Let's say we have a house. Let's say we have all this other stuff. I gotta put what I want right now on hold. I can't do those things if I have a family. I can't pursue those things. Sure, you can, but you have to make sacrifices, and I'm not someone to do that. I'm not going to be someone to make my family pay for the lack of work that I put in the years previously, or in the years prior. I can't put my family second at that point. I just can't do that. And all those times where I wish that I was by myself, and all those times where I look back at how I definitely don't want to be those people, one of those people that says that they wish that they waited before they found love. the wishes that they put work in at an earlier age to have a better life for themselves and then settle down. I don't want to be one of those people. And this is why I'm in a stage of solitude. This is why I am where I'm at right now. So that way I don't have to be one of those people in the future. And I have to utilize this moment. I have to take full advantage of it. Because I'm counting on myself. And when I tell my friends, my close friends, what I want to do, they're counting on me. When I tell my family this, they are counting on me. They're rooting for me, you know? And how unfair would it be to them, but most importantly myself, if I were to tell them these things, and then years pass by and I'm still the same nigga? That's not fair. I can cry all I want about being by myself and wanting to find love and wanting to be with somebody and cutting this cycle of me having just single everything, lonely everything. I can cry as much as I want. That's not gonna make me, it's not gonna change. That's not gonna make me change my mind about anything. That's not gonna make me, that's not gonna make life be like, okay, well, you know what? We've been hard on you. You're right. We're just gonna give you a girlfriend. We're just gonna give you what you want without actually putting any work in for it. No, it's not how it works. So I have to accept. That's another thing. That's another way you find peace in solitude. You accept that you're where you're at right now. That the only people that talk to you are who you work with. Every morning you're going to wake up and there's not going to be a text from someone that you want to have a text from. That you're going to look at other people and see that they're having a good time and see that they're laughing. And you might look from afar and feel like you're missing out on whatever it is that they are missing, that they are talking about, even though you're not. You're going to look at relationships, you're going to look at couples, and either online or in person, you're going to wish that you had that certain thing and that you're missing out on that too. Again, even though you're not, that's your reality. That's where you're at right now. And when I mean accept, I don't mean accept that this is where you're going to be at permanently. I mean accept as in this is where you're at right now. However, if not only do you work hard, but if you're patient, you work hard for the things that are in your control and you're patient for the things that you want that are outside of that, outside of your control, then you will have what you want. Maybe being by yourself all these years will pay off at some point. So, regarding relationship-wise and being by myself, being single, I think this has been another key aspect of my development in me developing my gratefulness and me being at peace with solitude and being by myself. So I'd say from today to let's say 2022, when I first dated somebody, there has been, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's been 8 girls that I can think of at the top of my head. Well, we'll say 9 actually. 9 that I have liked, and throughout the 3-year span, and I have not, they've all been unsuccessful. Now, was I depressed at that time? Yes, I was. I did feel miserable throughout all those times where I either figured out that they were with somebody, or I just had to tell myself that this person doesn't like you, or for them to tell me that they don't feel the same way again, or for someone else to tell me that. It felt terrible. All the time, each time. However, what I've learned, like the second to last time, not saying that I don't like girls anymore, relax, I still do, but I'm saying last time as in the last time first time I was rejected by a chick, and I was depressed. I understood that it's not necessarily me. Were there times where I texted too much? I've made him think that there was nothing else going on in my life. Times where I did some things I may have shouldn't have, of course, without a doubt. However, I've learned that maybe being by myself and me having those experiences with women, they weren't a waste of time. I've learned that with every girl that I've talked to, there is something about them that I have liked, and it was each time I think it was something different. And because of it was something different, I've kind of used that to build a mental blueprint, and that's made me feel better about the progress that I've made. Because even if I didn't date any of those girls, I can't ignore them. I can't count them as bad experiences. I just have to see them for what they were. And again, that's because they didn't go the way I wanted them to. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't have seen them. I shouldn't have been depressed about them. But again, that's a normal experience. I mean, having your hopes up that many times and then being declined, or just telling yourself that this is not going to work out, that hurts. However, I saved myself from a lot of potentially bad situations, and most importantly, I saved myself from what could have been a lot worse. I was saved by what I didn't hear, the conversations I didn't hear, what was being said about me, what they may have thought about me the entire time, and that's another way to look at isolation and solitude. It might just be the Lord protecting you from what he sees. He might be like, you might think life's boring right now, but I take boring over something that's what I thought was good for me, even though now I'm living in a scenario where it's not. Things are going bad with this chick, with whatever girl that is that I wanted to be with. And another way to think about it is if I've had those many times where I was talking to somebody, that means that I found something else at some point. Every single time when I thought that I'm never gonna find a girl like this, I'm never gonna find a girl like her, I did. Again, does that mean that I was able to get a date with that next person? No, it doesn't. But again, I still learned something from it. And it's when you're in that stage of solitude, whether you're done talking with that chick or when you are, that is where you hopefully take that time to figure out whatever it is that you may have learned from that said experience. Think of it this way. If you, regardless of how long it took between the time it takes for you to find another girl you like from who you liked before, if you never took time to yourself, if there was never a time for you to be by yourself, excuse me, you would have never figured out what it is that you like. You probably would have just been kept on following the same type of girl every single time. If you never took that time to learn and to see whatever it is that there is for you to learn from that experience, if you don't take that time for yourself, more importantly, you don't learn anything. You don't feel good after it. All you do is think about all the bad shit. And you shouldn't be doing that. And because you keep finding something better, that means that there's something else that next chick gives, something else that she does, something she has that the other girls maybe did not. And that means that there's something better. And again, if you keep talking to more and more, it also means that you haven't given up just yet. And you shouldn't ever. Especially with me and how young I am. Only 23. Just 23. The tender age of 23. I'm not even old enough to rent a car if I were to travel somewhere else. I have plenty of time left to go. If you're someone as young as I am and you're thinking the same things that I am and you're living the same, say you have the same experiences I do with being by yourself, being in solitude, I want you to, and you're watching this video, I want you to take what I told you in consideration. Because if these things helped me out, I know for a fact that they're definitely going to help you out as well. Enjoy solitude. G.